Alright, shalom, shalom. Before I begin this video, all the praise, honor, and glory goes into Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Ha, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, rule well, teach well, and a sincere salutations to you, hopeful elect Akim, who are out there preaching this word of sincerity and their faith. Alright, so this is another installment of the News Plus, or the News and Prophecy series. So let me just go ahead and play it. And if Spirit has me to stop, then, I'll go ahead.
Breaking news tonight, the dangerous tornado threat and blizzard conditions as a major storm sweeps across the country. Multiple tornadoes breaking out across the south. In Oklahoma, homes destroyed by a powerful EF2 tornado on the ground for 3 miles with winds up to 125 miles per hour. In Texas, a reported tornado injuring several people, damaging homes and a shopping mall. To the north, blizzard warnings in multiple states, whiteout conditions on the roads, where the storm is headed next. Also tonight, the founder of crypto giant FTX arrested in the Bahamas after the company's $32 billion collapse. Prosecutors alleging he's behind one of the largest financial frauds in American history. U.S. inflation slowing for the 5th consecutive month, what it means for your money and holiday shopping. The massive migrant surge at the border, what's causing it and why more people may arrive in the coming days. The 3-alarm inferno at an NYPD evidence warehouse. Smoke rising into the sky, multiple firefighters injured. The college football world stunned by the death of Mississippi State's head coach Mike Leach. And the Today exclusive, Jay Leno, his first TV interview since a car fire left him with serious burns.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening, everyone. A massive storm dumping heavy and blowing snow on one end and spinning up destructive tornadoes and flash floods on the other tops our newscast tonight. One weather system stretching from the snowy Dakotas down through Texas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma, which this morning saw its strongest tornado in 7 years, a damaging EF2. Severe weather striking Texas as well, where passengers and workers at DFW Airport were told to shelter in place. Not far from there, the violent weather leaving its mark, a trail of damage. And the immediate danger may not be over. Right now, millions in the south at risk for dreaded nighttime tornadoes. We're tracking the storm's potential impact as it barrels towards the east. But let's start with Morgan Chesky joining us now from Grapevine, Texas. Morgan, good evening.
Yeah, Lester, good evening. And tonight in Texas, the race is on to restore power after this morning was interrupted by the sound of tornado sirens. This rare December twister wreaking absolute havoc, gutting homes and businesses caught in its path. This storm just one of several that wreak so much danger across the south.
Tonight, a wild winter system's brutal wrath barrels east. Its multi-pronged path of destruction, stretching from snow-slammed Dakotas down to tornado-ravaged Texas, leaving roughly 14 million Americans across the upper Midwest and Great Plains under winter alerts. In Fort Worth today, a heart-stopping scene, a funnel appearing to touch down amid widespread tornado watches and warnings in Texas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma.
Severe weather conditions.
A tornado threat forcing travelers to shelter in place at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. In suburban Grapevine,
We ran to the bathroom, we got on the floor, and I started praying.
5 people hospitalized after authorities said
Lord ain't hearing your ass. The Lord is not hearing your ass, man. Okay? The Lord don't recognize you damn devils. Okay, you devils, you basically regarded as nothing, man. You are a nobody. All right? That's Salakia. Well, I thought it was in Mike. I was looking for a specific precept. But this also applies, so I'll go ahead and I'll read this. Micah 2:1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. So this damn devil, he's put himself as the premier people. Right? When she said, "Oh, I started praying and whatnot," people look at her and they think, "Oh, that's what one of the angels looks like." Right? A so-called white woman with long hair. It's bugged out. The scriptures don't say nothing about that, man. Okay. But anyways, it says, let me read it again. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. Right? Devising iniquity. Here it is. See, you done fucking destroyed everything, and now, one building get a little, get a little messed up, and all of a sudden you want aid and all the rest of that. Why don't you use some of that money that you got, right? And come to find out, a lot of you a lot of you damn devils are broke. You broker than Jake. All right, it says, verse 2, and they covet fields and take them by violence and houses. Right, so you put us into slavery. You did all this. Why don't you have a better infrastructure? You know what I mean? You would think after all these different quote unquote natural disasters, which really that's just, the Lord doing his will. You would think that you'd have something better in place, for these events, man. Yet yeah, it's the same old, same old. That's ultimately how you know that these elite, they don't give a damn about you low level devils, right? It says, and take them away, so they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. Cause let's say Jake was on this newscast and was like, hey, we're gonna pray in the name of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, that we're all right, that the Lord helps us in this time. Right? They'd be all over him. Right? You'd have a man there, his woman behind him, in a dress with her hair covered. You're not gonna see that. You're not gonna see that, man. You have oppressed us. You've oppressed us, and you've oppressed our heritage. Okay, so this is the Lord, man. The Lord is just, he's doing things down here on the earth to get Jake's attention. Okay, basically every time something drastic happens, it's like, okay, are you going to call out to the Lord? Are you going to pay attention to the Lord? Verse 3. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, against this family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughtily, for this time is evil. Let me go up again. Micah 2:2, and they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away, so they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, against this family do I devise an evil, from which ye have not removed your necks, neither shall ye go haughtily, for this time is evil. In that day shall one take up a parable against you and lament with a doleful lamentation, and say, we be utterly spoiled. He hath changed the portion of my people. How hath he removed it from me? Turning away he hath divided our fields. Jake messed up. Jake is all the way jacked up. Verse 5, therefore thou shalt have none that shall cast a cord by lot in the congregation of the Lord. Verse 6, prophesy ye not, say they to them that prophesy. They shall not prophesy to them, that they shall not take shame. Right? Y'all, don't talk about that's the Lord doing that. The Lord loves everybody. That's 2/3 of Israel and you heathens. Right? You don't want to hear the prophecies, man. The prophecy said that there would be a people ruling over us. Who decides who gets aid in this in these different predicaments? The so-called self-proclaimed white man. He's who decides, all right, who gets the rice, who gets the the cans of string beans and whatnot. Verse 7. O thou that art named the house of Jacob, is the spirit of the Lord straitened? Are these his doings? Do not my words do good to him that walketh uprightly? Yeah, so if you're doing right, now the Lord is still obviously, gonna test you with certain things, and the Lord is gonna, have certain things happen, but you're not gonna be jacked up like the rest of these people, right? And this is his doings. Right? This is Yahweh Shemi Shai's doing.
A probable tornado roared through. A middle school evacuated and businesses damaged.
What did you find when you walked outside?
Debris everywhere. Tree limbs down everywhere. Shingles all over the yard. Pieces of metal from the Sam store across the highway about half a mile away.
Don't mess with weather. If you hear the sirens going off, please shelter in place.
More devastation in Wayne, Oklahoma, where a confirmed EF2 tornado left homes ripped to shreds, roofs collapsed or torn off, trees reduced to kindling. In nearby Norman, drivers caught in flash floods after a torrential downpour. Meanwhile, up north in the Great Plains, trucks sidelined along ice-covered highways. South Dakota's governor urging people to stay home.
We have a lot of ice and significant damage that could happen.
And in Arizona, a rare phenomenon. Thunder snow, the patchwork of damage. This severe system's second act, after earlier this week wreaking havoc out west, dumping 4 feet of snow in California's Sierra Nevadas. People shoveling out as far north as Alaska. Tonight, tens of millions hoping their power and heat hold out as a monster system continues marching east.
And Morgan, we know residents there in Grapevine are still cleaning up from all the damage, but are they expecting a further threat there?
Yeah, Lester, potentially. The good news is that North Texas should be out of the woods tonight, but the bad news is that this massive system, as it continues to march on, could hold severe weather threats for the Gulf Coast and the Southeast, and of particular concern, nighttime tornadoes, which numbers show can be more than twice as deadly. Lester?
Yeah, Morgan Chesky, thank you for that. This dangerous weather will affect tens of millions around the country throughout the week. Dylan Dreyer is tracking it. Dylan, what's the forecast?
Well, Lester, there's a lot going on with this whole system. And here we have the severe threat with tornado warnings and continued watches in effect. As this moves to the east overnight, we are going to continue with the threat of more tornadoes and torrential downpours. Not only that, but we can see wind gusts up to 75 miles per hour and large hail as well. But this area in red that includes most of Louisiana, that's where we do have an enhanced risk for strong tornadoes. Tomorrow, the threat shifts ever so slightly to the east, includes Mississippi, parts of Alabama, and parts of Louisiana as well. That's the warm side of the storm. Where it's cold, we have blizzard warnings in effect because not only will we see a lot of heavy snow, but wind gusts up to 60, 70 miles per hour. That will drastically reduce visibility, make conditions very dangerous, and still we could end up with another foot of snow in parts of the Dakotas. Lester.
All right, Dylan, thank you. Tonight, what federal prosecutors call one of the biggest financial frauds in U.S. history, carried out, they say, by former crypto billionaire Sam Bankman-Fried, now under arrest and facing multiple criminal charges. CNBC's Kate Rooney has more.
He was once hailed as the king of crypto, but today Sam Bankman-Fried, founder and former CEO of crypto exchange FTX, is facing criminal indictments and a wave of civil complaints.
Bankman-Fried and his co-conspirators stole billions of dollars from FTX customers. He used that money for his personal benefit.
Bankman-Fried, arrested last night in the Bahamas, faces 8 criminal charges in the U.S. Authorities alleging he defrauded investors by funneling customers' money into his own hedge fund behind their backs. As a result, they say $8 billion have gone missing.
This committee will not stop until we uncover the full truth behind the collapse of FTX.
In Washington today, a congressional hearing on FTX's collapse following what amounted to a run on the bank last month. Bankman-Fried, who was expected to testify, was instead making his first court appearance in the Bahamas.
There was no corporate controls, no corporate oversight.
FTX's new CEO, John Ray, led energy giant Enron through bankruptcy after its collapse. Today, appearing before Congress, he ripped into Bankman-Fried's management.
This is just taking money from customers and using it for your own purpose. Not sophisticated at all. This is just plain old embezzlement.
At its peak, FTX had 2.7 million users in the U.S., and superstar celebrities were promoting the company.
You know what? I'm in.
Bankman-Fried was also donating tens of millions of dollars to political campaigns, including President Biden's 2020 White House bid, but today's allegations say that money actually belonged to customers. The White House saying due to the Hatch Act, it could not answer questions of whether or not the president would return the donations.
And all of this dirty money was used in...
Hell no, he ain't returning that. He not returning that. That money gone. That money spent.
...service of Bankman-Fried's desire to buy bipartisan influence and impact the direction of public policy in Washington.
In a statement today, his lawyer said Mr. Bankman-Fried is reviewing the charges with his legal team and considering all of his legal options.
We messed up big.
Before his arrest, Bankman-Fried took part in a whirlwind media tour defending himself.
There are things I would give anything to be able to do over again. I didn't ever try to commit fraud on anyone.
Kate Rooney joins me now. Kate, Bankman-Fried, as you noted, was arrested in the Bahamas. What happens next?
So, Lester, the United States has asked for extradition to New York, but Bankman-Fried's legal team plans to fight the request. His application for bail has been denied, and he'll remain in a Bahamian jail. His next court appearance for arguments over extradition is scheduled for February 8th. Lester.
All right, Kate Rooney, thank you for that. Tonight, some promising signs that inflation is cooling. Prices up just slightly in November from the month before and up 7.1% from a year ago, less than analysts predicted. Ann Thompson has details.
If the Grinch had a name this year, it would be inflation.
I'm very hopeful that this is not the new normal.
Kimmy and Matt Smith have a long Christmas list. At the top, their children, Kennedy and Easton.
It's trying to find the best deal right now and trying to find the best price.
To get the most out of this season of high prices, they started planning in the summer.
Turn it this way.
And agreed not to buy each other presents.
I feel like every time we make a purchase, we put in so much more thought. Where are we getting our gas? Where are we getting our groceries?
Inflation pressure that a new government report says is easing.
In a world where inflation is rising at double digits in many major economies around the world, inflation is coming down in America.
The decline in annual inflation, 7.1% in November, down from 7.7% in October, helped by a drop in gasoline prices. The average price for a gallon now down more than $1.70 since June. Overall, inflation slowed a bit, but housing costs continued to rise, up 7.1%, the biggest increase in more than 4 decades.
Whoa, that's so cool.
In suburban Chicago, the owners of the Smiths' favorite toy shop notice a caution among consumers, feeling the inflation squeeze.
Well, if my prices rise, their prices have to rise. I can't absorb that. It's just impossible. Right? You know, that's just kind of how it goes.
Yet stores and consumers are determined to keep the holiday spirit despite this year's Grinch.
Here we go. I love Christmas. It's my favorite holiday of the entire year.
So, Ann, today inflation numbers. Next is the Federal Reserve.
Right, and that's coming tomorrow, Lester. And the Federal Reserve is expected to announce its seventh interest rate hike this year. Markets anticipate a 0.5 point increase, but all eyes will be on Chairman Jerome Powell and what he says about continuing these increases and by how much in the new year.
Okay, and thank you. Now to that new wave of thousands of migrants crossing the southern border. Officials in El Paso tonight are calling it a crisis even before a Trump-era immigration restriction is expected to end next week. Gabe Gutierrez is on the Mexican side of the border tonight.
Overnight, even more migrants crossing the Rio Grande into El Paso, Texas. Thousands have come in huge groups just over the past several days, burning fires to keep warm. Many from Nicaragua. Here in Ciudad Juarez, Mexico, tension has been ramping up. Weeks ago, riot police broke apart a migrant camp that had formed along the border. Now, shelters are filling up. Late today, there are still hundreds of migrants that have walked across the Rio Grande and right now are waiting to get into El Paso. This new influx that we're seeing comes just days before a federal court is set to lift the pandemic-era border restriction known as Title 42. Today, we met this family of 4 from Guatemala who arrived here weeks ago. Now they're waiting until Title 42 is lifted before they decide whether to cross into the United States. With U.S. migrant processing centers already crowded, some migrants even sleeping outside, some officials in El Paso are urging the mayor to declare a state of emergency.
It is a crisis. It is a state of emergency. There's no municipality alone that could handle what we're seeing and what we're about to see with the lifting of Title 42.
Today, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro...
And see, the Lord is putting the spirit on them Israelites to come up in here, and a lot of them are going to be destroyed, man.
Mayorkas visited El Paso, and he's facing Republican calls for impeachment. There was a record-breaking 2.4 million illegal border crossings in the last year. Critics of the Biden administration say its lax border policies will encourage an even larger influx when Title 42 is lifted. Customs and Border Protection agents tell NBC News daily illegal border crossings could reach a record 10,000 per day. This man from Ecuador says a cartel kidnapped him during his grueling journey and that he only survived because the Mexican military rescued him and hundreds of others. Tonight, Secretary Mayorkas is defending the administration's border policies, saying immigration is very complex. And Lester, we're just now seeing how challenging it may be about to get.
Gabe Gutierrez, thank you. And late today, a historic moment at the White House. President Biden signing the Respect for Marriage Act in front of a crowd of thousands, providing federal protection for same-sex and interracial marriages. The law requires states to recognize these marriages, even if they were performed in another state. The president called it a vital step toward equality, liberty, and justice. In 60 seconds, the massive fire at an
Horrible.
NYPD warehouse holding DNA evidence, firefighters overwhelmed. In New York City today, a 3-alarm fire erupting at an NYPD evidence warehouse. A massive cloud of smoke in the sky as firefighters used boats to battle the flames. 8 people, including firefighters, were injured. The NYPD says evidence going back 20 to 30 years was kept at the site. Officials say it could take days to put out the hotspots. And next for us tonight, the bank pleading guilty to money laundering and forfeiting $2 billion. And the biggest deal ever to buy new planes in the U.S. as air travel soars. Back now with a massive bank fraud scheme. Danske Bank, the largest bank in Denmark, pleading guilty to defrauding U.S. banks and agreeing to pay a $2 billion penalty. The Justice Department says Danske exploited anti-money laundering measures in Estonia to give high-risk customers, including some Russians, access to the U.S. financial system. Also tonight, just as the holiday travel rush is about to kick off, there's major news in the aviation world. The biggest deal ever by a U.S. carrier to buy commercial airplanes. We get more from Tom Costello.
The size of the deal is staggering, potentially worth up to $43 billion.
You ready to build us some airplanes?
United Airlines betting big that the post-pandemic travel boom is here to stay, ordering 200 planes from Boeing, including the biggest order ever domestically for the wide-body 787, as United phases out older models for better fuel economy and more passenger room. United CEO Scott Kirby.
Larger windows, lighting, bigger overhead bins, everything about the airplane was designed to be the next generation for customers.
Boeing, one of America's biggest manufacturers, has struggled following 2 fatal 737 MAX crashes overseas, quality control, supply chain, and production slowdowns.
This order is a testimony to the post-MAX Boeing, in my opinion, and the 87 in particular.
Tens of thousands of jobs nationwide, now more secure. This deal comes as travel is surging worldwide. Boeing can't make planes fast enough. And now the Christmas travel rush is just a week away. AAA estimates 112 million Americans will travel between the 23rd and the 2nd, the third busiest on record. While good weather helped smooth out travel over Thanksgiving, blizzard conditions are today rolling across the country. You guys are ready for Christmas?
We absolutely are ready. And because we built more slack into the system, even when there's weather, we have more flexibility and ability to respond. And particularly keep the weather from bleeding over into the rest of the system.
United says it's hiring 2,400 pilots a year, predicting its planes will fly full for years to come. Tom Costello, NBC News, Charleston, South Carolina.
And coming up, we'll remember a college football icon, Coach Mike Leach, and Hoda Kotb's exclusive interview with Jay Leno, what the comedian says about being hospitalized by that burning car. Tributes are pouring in tonight following the death of one of college football's most influential coaches. Mike Leach, head coach of Mississippi State, was known as a colorful innovator, named National Coach of the Year twice. He mentored players and developed star coaches, including during his years at Washington State and Texas Tech. School officials say he died from complications of a heart condition. Mike Leach was 61.
It's that juice. That juice got him.
Finally tonight, comedian Jay Leno is opening up for the first time after that harrowing day 1 month ago when he suffered serious burns in a fire at the garage holding his collection of cars. He spoke about the accident in an exclusive interview with Hoda Kotb.
Tell me what happened that day.
Well, it was a 1907 white steam car. The fuel line was clogged, so I was underneath it trying to clog it. I said, blow some air through the line. And suddenly, boom, I got a face full of gas. And then the pilot light jumped and my face caught on fire. And I said to my friend, Dave, I'm on fire. And then, oh my God, Dave, my friend, pulled me out and jumped on top of me and kind of smothered the fire.
And we are glad to hear that Jay is okay and doing well. He'll have much more to say about all this in Hoda Kotb's exclusive interview tomorrow morning on Today. That's Nightly News. Thank you for watching, everyone. I'm Lester Holt. Please take...
Something off. You can just look at this nigga eyes, man. Yeah, I don't know. He might be a tear. I don't know, man. I don't trust him. But with that, Lord's will, you are edified. Call halal Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Ha, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors to the elder apostle, Great Millstone, who rule well and teach well. And sincere salutations to you, hopeful elect Akim out there who are pushing this word in sincerity and in faith. You know, we have to pay attention to the prophecies, pay attention to what we're seeing around us, and we can see, right, that it's getting bad out here, right? That same crisis that's at the border is gonna, those, the fighting for the resources, these other things, those are gonna, that's also gonna happen here. We have to wait for these things patiently. All right, shalom.